Hi, everybody. I'm Joel Ludlow. Ian's with me here. We're just going to be chatting about broken rhythm. I'm out in the world a bit more. I've been out of the big stage of Jeet Kune Do for a couple of personal reasons, and then just some political, like I don't want to deal with the bullshit out there. But I'm coming back out because I find a lot of what I trained with Jerry Petit just isn't out there. Like it's not being talked about, and it's not even like it's just sort of gimmicky things for different camps, and there's a lot of information just being lost. And one of those things is broken rhythm, and we always hear about the catchphrases. People like to do that and do poses and stuff, but we're not really talking about understanding. And some of what I'm going to be trying to share in the world in my seminars is that deeper understanding and actually going into things, so you're not just copying a movement, you're actually learning how to learning how to learn stuff. You're gaining information, and then you're going off in these things and working it. But it's coupled with the philosophy and the outlook and the understanding of what you're trying to seek. What are you trying to gain? Instead of just doing a pose or doing a drill, what are you trying to gain from this drill? What attributes are you gaining? Because it's not all training is cultivation. And that's a different podcast. We'll talk about that one later. But we're going to go into broken rhythm. And it's a pretty simple thing. And Ian has a great insight because he does music design and engineering, and he'll talk about that in just a second. But of coming into it, you establish rhythm, and then you break it. It's pretty easy. There's an easy drill that we do. You do and back and forward. It's a 2.5 beat, and it's really easy to gain those things. But we want to go into a little bit deeper understanding of that. Of You see this in dance and establishing it in drilling. We do that in martial arts, just like you might do it in dance. When you see like ballroom dancers, as an example, or swing dancers do swing dancing. So you've got 1, 2, rock step, and then they do all these cool flips and stuff, but they have that rhythm in there, and because they understand the rhythm, they can then manipulate that rhythm and come back to it. So it's an example of how they do it. And Bruce Lee was well known for doing the cha cha and being really good at it, understanding that through line. So then you can do variation. So if I'm hitting and then it gets broken, I can come back to hitting, and that's my through line. Or if we're moving, I understand the movement, so then I can break and do something. I understand how to shape everything. As a dancer, if you understand bam, bam, rock step, then you're able to shape because you can anticipate somebody else's movement because you can anticipate their rhythm. Now, when you're dancing, you're working with the person. Hopefully, they understand what's going on. But a really good dancer can lead you even if you don't know the movement yourself. I've had that happen where I didn't know how to dance, but the friend I was dancing with, she was really, really good. And she made it look like I was leading her, even though I wasn't. I was following her because she understood the movement so well, she could guide me through it. And that's what we're looking at, is being able to manipulate somebody else, to guide someone else into where we want them to be. If we go here and then I take you into a twirl, I take you into a lift, I take you into a dip, whatever it happens to be, you have to understand where the person is and where they're going. And that way you can follow the kinetic energy of where they're moving to, and then add to it and manipulate that kinetic energy and the body mass going through. That's what you're doing. And then I'll let Ian sort of describe, because he does cool like engineering movement, engineering sounds, and it's going to lead us into another aspect. That's in harmony. Dancing is you're seeing in harmony. If it's not, you're like, you wrench your back. But music, you can have it in there and fine tune it, but then you can also create discordance, and that's what we want to do. So you're establishing a rhythm, and then you do a change up to create discord. And Ian, if you want to jump in with some insight on that, otherwise I'll just talk the whole time.
I think it's fine. I think that there's a lot of things that we can discuss in between how to define like the use cases of broken rhythm, but I think that there's a commonality between all forms of art to where we use broken rhythm to create a surprise or an unexpected element. And in order to do that, if you can see what's coming from a mile away, then there's no surprise. So in the context of fighting, if all of your throwing is a jab and jab, jab at the same tempo, then eventually they're going to break your rhythm. So in order to do that, you have to change that up, and you have to give them something to follow along, like the Pied Piper, and then give them surprise where you lead in with a different attack or a different timing. Same thing when it comes
Yeah.
into the cultivation of beats, or when it comes to the cultivation of tension and release. You are creating this expectation, And from that expectation, when you have given somebody that, it's almost like a gift, because then that's when the anticipation comes. They say, I'm expecting this to happen, and you have control over how you want to lead them into the next movement or the next piece or the
and
next phrase.
and they're going to have more stability in that moment because they know what's coming, so they can stabilize and prepare themselves, and they're going to be more efficient in countering you. If and I always love this example. If you're running up a flight of stairs, right? They're even nice, even steps, pop, 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 and you just charge up the steps, right? Well, I got to go to China and be on the Great Wall of China, and it's stairs, but the tread is different heights and different lengths. And I tried it. I tried a couple of times to charge up, and because it's not uniform, because it's not rhythmic, it's not even bump 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 bump. It's not steady. Your body is constantly adjusting, and you can't catch into that rhythm.
Every
You
step is
can't
different.
establish a rhythm
Right.
because you're not, and then you're not efficient. So as humans, we want to go into efficiency. It's going to lead us into some other things we're going to talk about here in a quick second. um, we want to be efficient, or we want to find a rhythm because we can be more efficient. You're jumping rope, you're doing anything, you're dancing, it's to the music. We like having rhythm in our lives because we can lock onto it, and we can catch our stride, and then we can follow it, and then we can increase our performance. In fighting, you're going to want to do that. You're going to want to find that rhythm in there and do it, which means if you establish that rhythm, the other person is going to naturally, subconsciously want to follow into that. And then, as Ian was saying, then you create that surprise, and that surprise is something they're not expecting.
You it one really great way to think about it is like when you give a kid a Jack in the Box for the first time, but bum ba dum ba da 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 dum, and then at the very end they go, oh crap, right, and they get super scared
Yeah.
because they've never seen it before. And likewise with the analogy of the stairs, like if you're going up several flights of stairs, you kind of time yourself out to where maybe those last two steps you can jump. But if every step, if every space is the different, then the only thing that you're doing is fighting through chaos. And naturally, just the way.
Or if you do the steps, sorry, you're thinking about jump, and I was like, and then with the surprise thing, if you're running up the steps, and then when you step on one, it breaks, and it's
Yeah.
just not, or it's just not there. And it's going to totally throw you off. That would be another thing. But what we're doing is we're establishing that it is broken. That step is broken, and we know that it's broken because we're the ones who or took it away. And then you fall down, it destroys everything. That's when we jump on you and straight blast the crap out of you.
It's essentially like a base form of deception because we're setting up a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
from
absolutely. Great way to think about it.
from that trap, like in my case of music, I'm trying to use it to please, or create a nice surprise. But likewise, if your trap is poorly executed, then somebody can actually intercept or throw you into your own
Mm-hmm.
trap because they've timed you out faster than you've been able to time them out. So with these dynamics that we have, the more that you can establish, or the faster that you can establish the rhythm and make somebody have to catch up to you, the easier it's going to be for you to break that and have an advantage, I believe.
Yeah, and another thing with Jeet Kune Do, at least as I learned it, is being very aggressive and forward pressure. If you're imposing yourself on someone else and you're instigating things with a hit, if I hit first, then everybody else follows along. It's sort of like the old band thing, the drummers back there, and they go, and one, they count it out, and then everybody else jumps in with them. They're initiating the song, but I don't have sticks in my hand. I can't drum anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you see that drummer start out, and 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you just jump into everything. They're establishing a rhythm for the rest of the band to come into it, or a conductor coming up, and boom, they establish rhythm. And it might be as simple as that. And against a skilled opponent, all you need is boom, right? All the skilled symphony players, all of the orchestra is sitting there. They know this, and boom, they know they because they've trained it. If you give them boom, now they're trained, they're reacting. You've established your rhythm. Well, then guess what? You're the one who can break that rhythm, and
I,
it can be even in the initial with a progressive indirect off the first bat.
I'm glad that you actually brought that up. You beat me to it because I was going to ask you to go into that further. But the thing with, to kind of like summarize what you just said, the thing with broken rhythm is, why do you want to use it in the context of combat in the first place? Well, obviously to win, right? If you can just punch the guy with a single hit, then there's no
It's not.
reason to implement
It's a
tactics.
non-issue.
And you said it
Yeah,
yourself. This
absolutely.
is against somebody that is skilled, that somebody that is a threat, but you have to give them a threat to make them follow your rhythm in order for you to even establish it in the first place.
And I think that's something, Ian, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people out there, I'm going to do this. It's self-defense. So it's street fighting, meaning that you're out there and there's no rules. So it's not sport. It's combat. And the old ways that people used to duel, they might put some things in there like don't kill each other, but uh, it was just fighting, and it was like, all right, let's see how good you are. And if you go back even further, they were using weapons and stuff, and it was to the death. You're doing swords and someone's dead. Um, they're putting their life on the line for that, and the idea is that you might be in wartime, or you might be in a combative situation, or it might be gangs in the street, or some sort of civil unrest, or someone's attacking you. But the main thing you're looking at is they have skill and they are threatening you, meaning not like, hey, I'm going to punch you, but you can't just like bang and they fall down. If you could do that, this isn't applying to that. If I can just hit you and you fall down, then I don't need to do anything else. But if I can't hit you because you're too skilled, then I have to apply tactics to do it. That's the whole 5 ways of attack. And the broken rhythm is part of that. Of oh crap, you're really good. You're a really good boxer, kickboxer, grappler, whatever it is. You have skills, and we're this way. There's something. Maybe we're equal size and strength and skill. Maybe you're a bit bigger. Maybe you're a bit faster. Whatever it is, I can't just hit you and win the fight. I try to punch you and I can't. And maybe you're threatening me too much with your own attacks, and I can't score off of just a simple attack. Then how do you
Be
score
successful.
on them?
Yeah.
How are you successful then? And the whole thing of hit and pose at the end, that's movie stuff. And it really irks me to see that crap out there, because that's not how I ever trained. It was you got to fight somebody who's skilled. If they're that easy to fight,
What are you
why are you
doing?
bothering with Jeet Kune
Yeah.
Do? Like, you don't even need to. Well, don't bother training in anything really. You're trying to increase your ability to
Perform.
fight,
Yeah.
to use more of your potential in a given situation, and refine your movements so that you're more economic in creating hit energy and applying that hit energy against resistance, against someone who is actively trying to resist that attempt of you hitting them and scoring a hit of their own. Whatever kind of attack that might be. It could be a punch, it could be a kick, it could be a tackle, it could be anything. Do you have to think about doing that and to be able to intercept? And here's another thing: the better you are at reading rhythms, whether they're a boxer or a kickboxer or whatever, the sooner you see that rhythm, practicing and training, the sooner you can break that rhythm yourself. Even, oh crap, they're established rhythm. I've got something I can throw in there to break their rhythm and give me a moment. So that's intercepting. That's the whole idea of intercepting. It's not just, oh, stand there and punch them when they're doing it. That's a really base level. And boom, okay, well that's pretty easy. That's like a conductor doing this. That's an easy one to do. But what about when they don't give you something like that? Hey, that's a pretty easy intercept. I think, I give you 1 month of training with me, you can intercept that one.
A-
Maybe one class of training, you can intercept that one.
And not just that, but
So
I'm sorry to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you, but it's also really important to realize that like when you talk about interception, a lot of people think that they're going to intercept the first encounter, the first interaction, right? The first punch.
Yeah.
You might get clocked.
Well,
You might get
you might
punched
get caught,
several
and then
times.
you're fighting your way to just, you're intercepting of a. So me, I get hit, and then I'm intercepting the next one with an evasion, so that I can reclaim my stability, and then I do a parry for the third one, or a slip or something, or a bob and weave, and then I'm trying. So that's why it's moment to moment, and trying to reestablish my rhythm on somebody, break their rhythm
And
with
reestablish
something,
yours.
and then reestablish my rhythm so that I can then break my rhythm with a surprise, as you like to say.
Can I
And our
interrupt you?
surprises are always hits. Yeah.
I was going to interrupt you again, not to be rude, but because this alludes to your fencing experience about what you told me about the idea of push and pull. And I think that these
Mm-hmm.
are incredibly
Absolutely.
related. So,
I was doing a fencing coach, because it's fencing is part of it. Wing Chun, boxing, and fencing and some other stuff too. And it just filtered through Bruce Lee. That's what a lot of people understand as Jeet Kune Do. And I said, well, I don't want to go. I've done plenty of boxing kind of stuff, like kickboxing. And I've never done Wing Chun. I did just straight Jeet Kune Do. But anyway, I have other experiences as well. But I wanted to go do fencing, and I didn't want to do it for like I want to go do fencing to compete or anything like that. I just wanted to explore the idea of fencing. And what I found out was we were exploring ideas. So we would do actual movements, and then we would just discuss it. And we'd end up doing a chat session about tactics and how this applied and where this came in and how you used it. And my fencing coach Steve would talk about push and pull. Push and pull. You want to be because in fencing there's the idea of who has dominance, who has it. If this person has, if it's my turn to hit, you have to basically touch blades, and then it's your turn, and then I have to come back and I have to touch the blade here before I can take it. So there's a physical changing of who is pushing or pulling. But in the initial onset, you're moving somebody in and you're threatening, you're engaging, and then you may be drawing them in, but you're pushing and pulling, and you don't know who's leading. Sometimes you might think you're leading, but the other person is. And it's just like a lot of people do basic footwork drills where you're following. I might lead and you're following me, and then the other person's doing it and they're doing it. So they're trying to do, one person's leading. Well, when you're just fighting, it's both of you trying to be the leader. And sometimes there's deception in there. You may think that you're leading, but you're not. And the only way you really find out who's leading, to be honest, is who gets hit.
Who gets hit, yeah.
Who gets hit? The guy or girl getting hit is the one who was following.
I think that's a good time to hit. That's a good place to end it.
And it can change like that too. You might be pushing and pulling. You might be leading the thing of where you move and maneuvering them into it. And then all of a sudden they're able to break out of that. They're able to break that and intercept it and break it with something of their own because they've established your rhythm, and then they can break it. And then they hit you. Right? But they took control. They were in that moment, they were leading. And it's always about who's better in the moment.
There you have it, folks. Broken rhythm. Sifu, we've got just a couple minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Yeah. Not really. I hope that people ask questions about it. I hope anything you get from me is a beginning to you going, well, I wonder how else I could apply that. Where else could I figure out broken rhythm? How can I explore the idea of broken rhythm and establishing my rhythm and then breaking that rhythm, or getting out of recognizing someone else's rhythm and then breaking it? Do you do it in boxing? Can you do it in wrestling? Can you do it in kickboxing? Can you do it in judo? And the answer is yes, but the individual expression and journey to do that is going to be unique to you, and it's not going to be just like mine. It should be a beginning point for you to discover it, and then however you apply it is great. But the questions are always better than the answers. Don't take away this as an answer. Take away this as
a discussion
beginning point for you to question your own training and how you can improve it and increase your efficiency. So broken rhythm, have fun with it and see how many ways you can do it. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Subscribe to the channel.